escape the void. Yes, when you were children and you lost a tooth, you notice the tongue would go right to that one spot where the tooth is missing. And why is that? Well, it's human nature to recognize and focus on what's missing. If there's something missing, we tend to miss it or recognize that fault or that void. And so we tend to go directly toward that. And we end up focusing our mind on that. We end up focusing our energy on that. But that can become detrimental if we don't keep that under control. On an average day of work for me, I come into my home office and some of the cases that I'll take will be like, well, Roman, I'm feeling depressed because I've lost my child to my ex who's taken them away from me. Or I'm feeling anxiety because everyone in my industry that I work is turning against me. I've lost my job and I'm being smeared. Lies are being told about me now. Or I'm sad because my husband has passed and now I'm all alone. And all these people are experiencing emotional distress. And that's all in one day. I'm going to talk to these people, and on my website, it says that 99% of the people that talk to Roman feel better after they're done talking to him. Well, really, that's not completely honest. Actually, 100% of people feel better after talking to me. And Marissa's batting 100% as well. The reason is related to a discovery that I made around this time last year, that our emotions, our emotional state, our mood is precipitated by our perception. So really how we feel will be dictated by what we're perceiving in our mind as it relates to our values. The reason why I'm not afraid to talk to these people who have lost their child and they have lost their husband and they have lost their job and they've lost their reputation. And I know that in one conversation, I will be able to help them to feel better. And I will be able to show them how to manage their own emotions and to balance their own mood so they can keep themselves feeling better. The reason I am so confident is because it all breaks down to controlling the perception of the mind. How do we do that? The perception is like a movie that you play for your brain, right? So we can be thinking about something coming in our future, like let's say we're thinking about our husband coming home. So we have a movie that we play of that. And if we play the movie in such a way so that when the husband comes in, he's going to be mean, he's going to be in a bad mood, he's going to be mad at us, then we're giving ourselves a perception that will release chemicals into our system that match that perception. But if we change that movie, then we're changing the perception. And by changing the perception, we change the chemicals. If we picture him coming home and us having a wonderful reunion, now we're getting good chemicals and we're getting good feelings. What all of the people that I mentioned who lost the child and lost the husband and lost the job have in common is that their mind is focused on the infinite void. What infinite void am I talking about? I'm talking about the infinite void of what we do not have. Because there exists somewhere out there in the ether a endless list, an infinite void of things we do not have, and that is for every human, no matter who you are, man or woman, free or prisoner. a billionaire, or in poverty. Every human has an infinite void, an endless list of things they don't have. When you think about it, that's true, isn't it? Because no one has everything, but really the list of all the things that a person doesn't have, it's impossible for one person to have everything. And that's so obvious and so simple that we miss it sometimes, and we forget to realize that we're falling victim of thinking about, of perceiving, of focusing on something we don't have, something in that infinite void. So if I say, I'm so short, I just wish I wasn't so short. So what do you wish you had? Well, more inches. Well, how many more inches would you like? Well, I wish I had at least 2 more inches. Okay, there's an infinite amount of inches I don't have. If I'm not 6'1", I'm also not 6'2", not 6'3", not 7'8". It just goes on and on and on. There is no end to how many things we don't have. So therefore, it makes no sense for us to focus on what we don't have. Which is simple logic, right? It makes no sense for us to focus on what we don't have, because there's always an endless list of things we don't have. But when we are going through something and we are perceiving it from an emotional standpoint, we feel like we are missing something, and that is basis, it is justification for our feelings. And so we get all caught up into our emotional space. Some of us have had legitimate losses. One woman found herself on the day of her wedding crying because her parents had passed years ago. But now she was thinking about how sad it was that they were not here today on her wedding day. Our hearts go out to anyone who has experienced a legitimate loss. But how do we keep ourselves balanced when we're going through real life losses like this? When people are out here smearing our reputation, talking bad about us, when our ex is taking everything we've got, they're walking out with the TV, the bank account, and then they want to sue for more. We control our emotional state, because one thing the ex can't take is your peace. That belongs to you, and it is impossible for another person to rob you of it. You decide. You decide how you are going to feel. How can you do that? How can you manage your emotions? How can you stay steady? Control your perceptions. Another word I use interchangeably with perceptions is the perspective, which is the angle at which you look at something. How do we do this in the moment, in real time, when we're really feeling that emotion? Well, we want to stop, pause, and meditate. It only takes a few moments, maybe 3 minutes. And when we're meditating, what we're doing is actually moving the energy that's inside the brain that neurologists can see in the brain scan. We're moving all that electrical energy, and we're shifting it off of the infinite void of what we do not have. We're moving it into the abundance of what we do have, because that is what we are supposed to focus on, because that is where we will have gain, we will have growth, we will have stability, and our emotions will be stable if we shift the energy of the mind onto the abundance. So how do we do that? Like if people are smearing me and they're ruining my reputation and I'm losing all my friends and I'm losing my job, I'm losing opportunities. How do I shift my energy onto the abundance, Roman? Like, what's the deal? Pause and stop thinking for a moment about all that you perceive you don't have, because this is a movie and it's not a good film. Why don't we change cinemas and go down the hall to a different theater and go in and view a different film? And what's the film we're going to give ourselves? It's the film of abundance. So I'm going to shift the energy of my mind and I'm going to move it over to what I do have and what I can control. In the situation of someone going out and smearing us and us losing the job, it's a lot of focus on what we cannot control. Other people's actions, other people's opinions. What are other people thinking? What are they saying about me? All things I can't control. Can I control any of that? No. So that's why I want you to remember the infinite void. And I want you to ask yourself, hey, is what I'm thinking about right now a part of this infinite void that Roman was talking about on Monday? Especially when it's really bringing you down. I want you to ask yourself, is this a part of the infinite void of something I can't control or something I do not have? Because all of us have an unlimited amount of things that we can't control. There's no point in thinking about all that. Well, yeah, but Roman, you don't understand. All of my friends, all of my coworkers are thinking about how terrible I am, how bad I am, how awful I am. Look, I do understand. I've been rejected many times on a personal level. I've lost all of my friends. I understand. I understand what it's like for people to betray you, to turn on you, to lie about you, to smear you. I understand. What I don't do is I don't stay there thinking about that because I can't control that. And since I can't control it, it's none of my business. It's not my concern. So I get busy focusing the energy of my mind on what I can control. And what happens? Stabilizes me. I might still feel a bit sad about what's going on out there, but there's only so much energy I have toward that. I've shifted now the energy of my mind into what I can control. And now we get beautiful results. Because what happens when we shift the energy of our mind, when we put all of our energy into a void? What happens to your energy when you put it all into a void? You lose it, right? What is a void? It's an empty space. It's an oblivion that never ends. It's a dark hole of nothingness. That's a void. Why would you put the most precious thing you have, your energy and your thoughts, into a void of nothingness, into a black hole? Why would you do that? When you think about it, it's not logical. The only thing that actually makes sense is shifting onto what we can control, what we can do, and what we do have. And what will happen when we do that? Well, the energy that we pour on that will be like pouring water and sunlight on a seed. It's going to make something grow. When you focus your energy on what you have, on the abundance, your abundance becomes greater. When you focus the energy on what you have, the abundance becomes greater. It grows, right? It's like if you had water and plant food and you have a seed, and let's say you put the seed right here in the soil to the right, and then you take all this water and you pour it down the drain. That doesn't make sense. Why did you take the water and put it in a sink or put it in the toilet? You take the water and the plant food and you put it where? On the seed. Why? Because then you don't waste it and it'll grow. The seed needs the nourishment. Likewise, your future, your dreams need the nourishment of your energy. It needs your love so that it can grow, so that you can become who you really are, so that you can fulfill your own potential. You cannot fulfill your potential pouring all your nutrients down the drain or into the toilet. What about if, someone took your kid, your ex left, they took the child? There are aspects of that situation that are outside of our control, aren't there? So therefore, we cannot focus the mind on those aspects, such as what the ex did. Focusing the mind on those aspects leads to rumination, doesn't it? Because we start saying, how could they do this? Why would they do this? This is so terrible what they've done. Oh my gosh, I'm so worried. I'm so concerned. I can't believe this. And then what happens? What happens if we keep pouring energy down that void? Well, now we get sad. We don't want to get out of bed, and we don't want to eat, and then we don't go to work, and then we don't make money, and then we can't pay bills, and then we get kicked out, and our stuff gets turned off. And then guess what? Everyone turns around and says, "Ha, see, that's why that person lost their child. He doesn't deserve to get his child back. See, he can't even keep his cell phone on. Can't even keep a job." And you're like, I'm sad because I lost the child. And now everyone's going to turn around and say, I lost it because I'm sad? That doesn't make sense. Listen, this is the way the universe works. It is the Pareto law of distribution. Where there is more will grow. Where there is less, all that's there will be lost. That is why you create a financial system and you say, okay, everyone can just work for money. And what happens? 90% of all the money gets taken up by 5-10% of all the people. And then the other 90% of the world's population is supposed to live on 10% of the money? That's what is happening. That is reality. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying it's real. We must lock in to what's really happening. Holy smokes. Because the same concept, the Pareto law of distribution, is the same thing Jesus was talking about. When he said, to he who has more will be given. But to he who has less, even what he has will be taken away from him. When you are thinking about how you lost your kid, or you lost your spouse, or you lost your girl, or you lost your car, while you are thinking about that, you will start to lose even more. It'll start with your emotional health, and it will bleed into your mental health. And then you will start to lose your financial well-being, and then it will affect your relationships, and then it will affect your ability to earn, and then you'll lose. Take the warnings. Understand the way the universe works, and recognize that if you take the energy of the mind and focus it on the less, on the least, on the nothing, you will lose whatever's left. Wherever the homeless, I was out in LA, right? And you have homeless people just lining the streets, all living in tents. Some living in tents. They're just out there. One woman had a mattress like you would have inside your house with a sheet and a duvet and a cover. She had a mattress just on the sidewalk. and she's sleeping on this mattress. What is going to happen to her mattress? This is all she has in the world. This is all she has in the world. What is going to happen to her mattress when she gets up, she goes to the bathroom, or she goes to try to get a job, or goes to try to work, or goes to try to do anything? What is going to happen to her mattress? Is going to get taken. Another bum or the police are going to come along and say, this mattress doesn't belong here. And they're going to take it and they're going to throw it in the trash. Why? Because that is how the universe works. Because she has less, she will lose even what she has. How does this apply? There is something so fundamental to you. You have the ability to invest your energy. The energy of the mind, the thoughts are energy. It's pure energy. It is fundamental to you. It is your starting point of everything on a day-to-day basis. You have the ability to invest this energy into anything you want because no one has everything. So if you don't have a kid or you don't have a wife or you don't have a job or you don't have a husband, you can invest this energy into thinking about how you don't have that. But I guarantee investing it into the void will lead to the void becoming larger and larger until it engulfs you. Invest your energy onto what you do have. Maybe you have a house. So focus the energy of the mind on, I'm so glad I have this house. It's the attitude of gratitude. Or maybe it's something you can do. Maybe you have the ability to make phone calls. In the case of losing your child to a spouse, you have the ability to reach out to the legal system and get help. So you can take action. When you focus on what you can do, then you can start to build on what you have. You focus on the powerfulness instead of the powerlessness, and it pulls you out of depression and into determination. You can start getting things done and start fighting back in a legal way to get custody of your kid. That's where the energy needs to go. Because as we illustrated, if you focus on the loss, then everyone's going to compound your loss and say, hey, we support him not having the kid. When you focus on what you have, what power you have, that is your best hope of growing in your abundance and growing in what you have, in strengthening yourself, in protecting your mental health. Because you're working, and as you're fighting, you're keeping yourself out of depression, which keeps you in the gym, which keeps your physical health up, which keeps you working hard at your job, which keeps your financial health up. So eventually, when you get your day in court and you show up, you've got your financial health together, your mental health together, your physical health together, and you show up to the judge and you can present, there is no reason I should not have custody of my child. And the judge says, you're absolutely right. I don't support this. And they grant you your rights back. If we did lose a loved one in the past, it's not wrong to be sad or to grieve for our loss. But it will not help us to be imbalanced and focusing our mind on that. It does not bring the person back. It's just another way of focusing on the void of what we do not have. Whether we had it once and we lost it, or if we've never had it before. Have you guys heard of Chadwick Boseman? Chadwick Boseman is the star of Black Panther. People are talking about him more lately because he passed away from colon cancer. And now they had to go on to make the sequel movies without him, though he was the title character. But what they can't stop talking about is the fact that everyone that knew him and worked with him at Marvel Studios and in his other projects, they enjoyed working with him and they felt he was a hard worker, but no one ever knew he had colon cancer. He had been battling colon cancer privately for 4 years. But Chadwick chose in his final years not to focus on the void. Not to say, oh, man, I don't have my health. I don't have good health. Oh, this isn't fair that I have colon cancer. This isn't fair. This is my chance. I could be a movie star right now, but I have cancer. Because if he did that, what would happen? He'd say, you know what? Forget it. I can't take these roles. I can't go on to play Black Panther while I'm battling cancer. And he would give it up. And how would that have helped him in his last 4 years to not die? No. It wouldn't have changed anything except he would have accomplished less and made less money to leave behind for his family and left less of a legacy and be less of an inspiration. That's all that would have accomplished. He would have focused on the void, and his void would have grown, and he would have lost even more than he was already losing. But what Chadwick decided to do instead, in his last 4 years of life, since nothing is guaranteed, neither death nor the continuance of his life, he decided not to focus his mind on death, but to focus his mind on life. Of course, he didn't go around telling people that he had colon cancer, because then they're going to focus on him having cancer. And he doesn't want to be known as the guy who has cancer. He wants to be known for his work. And he doesn't want them to influence him to focus on the cancer. He wants to focus on his work, the merits of his character. And so he went to work. In the last 4 years of his life, Chadwick Boseman made 7 feature films. 7 films, including Black Panther, Avengers Infinity War, Endgame. Those are 2 separate movies. 21 Bridges, The Five Bloods, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and Marshall. It was not only doing box office smashes, but doing critically acclaimed work and getting nominations. In the last 4 years, he made 7 films. Do you know how long it takes? How hard it is to make a feature film? He was working. He was focused on what he had. And he multiplied it. He grew it. It became an inspiration, changed lives, changed the film industry. He was a part of things that were groundbreaking. It's not bad, right? Something to show. Why not? Why not? If he's dealing with this illness that's going to take away his life, why not focus his mind on what he can do and what he does have? What an inspiration for us. We can focus on what we can do. We can focus on what we can control. We can focus on what we have. Are you ready to do that? Take a moment right now let's meditate. If you're in a safe place, close your eyes. And I want you to envision all of the things you do have, all the things you are grateful for. I just need you to grab 3 of them and bring them to mind. 3 things that you are grateful for. And when you have them, jot them down on your notes really quick. This simple meditative exercise takes about 2 minutes, 3 minutes. It's a very simple hack when we're feeling a lack of motivation, when we're ruminating, when we're feeling undesirable emotions, to refocus the energy of our mind. I want you to step into the driver's seat and take responsibility for your emotional state and your well-being. This was an example of focusing the energy of your mind on abundance, the abundance of what you have, the abundance of what you control. Take a moment right now and reflect. What do you control? Can you think of 3 things you can control? I'll give you a moment. Two things that I hope that you put on your list of things you can control are your thoughts and your behavior or your actions. Because we control what we focus our mind on, what perception we're going to have, what perspective we're going to take to any situation. And by changing that perception, that perspective, we're influencing our emotions. We're in control then of how we want to feel. And we can build this muscle. You might say, but Roman, it's hard at first. It's hard for me to just remember to step into control when the feelings come. They're so overwhelming. The feelings are not the boss. You are the boss. Exercise the skill of meditating like we just did on what you control and what you have. And it will be like building a muscle. Awkward at first, a little weak at first, but over time it'll get stronger and stronger. And soon you'll stay so steady, so stable, and people will look at you. They'll say, how can you be so stable? How can you be so steady right now like this? And then you'll have to let them in on the secret. It's been so beautiful to be able to work with you survivors. Over the past year, we've been able to work with around about 1,000 people one-on-one. And then via the media and our group sessions, we've been able to reach thousands of people. It's hard to put a number on that. But that's really special. And each one of you guys have made a positive impact on me, as well as I'm sure that we've made a positive impact on you. I'm going to do an in-person retreat for anyone who's interested. I'm planning the destination. Obviously, when we do something like that, we're all meeting in person somewhere. There's money involved in order to be able to do that. So some of us may have the circumstances, some may not at this time, but focus on what you have. And if you happen to be someone who has the circumstances to go to a physical retreat, and that sounds like something that's interesting to you, reach out. Let me know if you have a preference of where or when. And I'm going to make a final decision on this week. So your input is welcome.